afternoon, I'm Marjorie Gordon.
And I'm Nika Lewis.
In nationwide news at this hour, almost 24 hours after the first polls closed yesterday, the U.S. presidential election remains undecided.
But Democratic presidential candidate Joe Biden is inching closer to the 270 electoral college votes needed to clinch the presidency.
Both PNP presidential candidates Mark Golding and Lisa Hanna signed a declaration of unity.
Education Ministry officials met with principals and board chairs of 17 schools approved to participate in the ministry's face-to-face pilot program.
Nationwide news understands criminals broke into a Western Union outlet in St. Anne and stole nearly $7 million in cash.
Jamaica records 30 new cases of COVID-19 in latest round of test results.
In news from the rest of the world, Austria's interior minister admits that a warning from Slovakia last summer about a gunman who went on the rampage in the center of Vienna was not followed up.
And in sport, businessman Chris Williams gives his first interview to Nationwide Sports since his appointment as chairman of the new body that will run the National Premier Football League.
And later in our broadcast, in our cover story at 5:35, the presidential election is still without a winner. But the Democratic candidate Joe Biden has picked up two crucial battleground states, bringing him much closer to the 270 electoral college votes he needs to win. While President Trump is going to the U.S. Supreme Court to intervene in the vote count in Pennsylvania. We'll get the latest on the results in the cover story at 5:35.
In public opinion at 6:26, we ask, who do you think will win the U.S. presidential elections? Give us your comments by logging on to our Facebook page, Nationwide News Network, and by tweeting us at Nationwide Radio.
At 6:40 in the nation's business, another security minister vows to dismantle the Klansmen and the gang.
Well, we can assure the country we're going to get all of them off the road. We're going to disrupt Klansmen, and not only Klansmen, but all of the gangs that are operating in that space.
How the National Security Minister, Dr. Harris Chang, will tell us in the nation's business. All these and more as we take you home on air.
Nationwide News understands criminals broke into a Western Union outlet in St. Anne and stole nearly $7 million in cash. Police have confirmed the St. Anne's Bay store is one of 3 Western Union branches broken into in the parish in the last month. The others are in Runaway Bay and Claremont, but the robbers, believed to be the same group, escaped without any cash in those incidents. The break-in and robbery in St. Anne's Bay took place over the Heroes weekend, but it's understood criminals attempted to break into another Western Union outlet in Claremont 2 nights ago. Reports are that the robbers entered the St. Anne's Bay store sometime after midnight at Gully Road, meters away from the police headquarters. The men reportedly cut through an 8-inch thick wall of a store that shares the building with the Western Union office. Video footage from the branch shows a masked man moving around in the store. It's believed there were at least 4 men involved, with 2 acting as lookouts. Franchise operator Othniel Lawrence told Nationwide News that $6.9 million in cash was stolen. He says most of it was in Jamaican currency. Commanding officer for St. Anne Superintendent Carlos Russell says the police have strong leads.
We believe that it's a syndicate of persons working together that are doing these break-ins, and we believe that we have some strong leads, and these persons will be arrested in short order.
Superintendent Carlos Russell, head of the St. Anne Police.
The world in a minute.
Austria's interior minister has admitted that a warning from Slovakia last summer about a gunman who went on the rampage in the center of Vienna was not followed up. 4 people were shot fatally and 23 others wounded on Monday night. Police in Slovakia revealed they had tipped off Austrian authorities about suspects from Austria trying to buy ammunition in July. Reports suggest the trip to buy bullets failed as the gunman had no license. It has also emerged he was released early from a jail sentence last December December for trying to join jihadists in Syria. According to German media, the 20-year-old who was shot dead by police 9 minutes after the attack began traveled to neighboring Slovakia to buy ammunition for a Kalashnikov AK-47 assault rifle, but returned empty-handed. Slovak police said they had informed their Austrian colleagues immediately, adding they would not comment further. U.S. Democratic presidential candidate Joe Biden is inching closer to the 270 electoral college votes he needs to win the election. Mr. Biden now has 254 votes to President Trump's 213. Today, as millions more votes are counted, the former vice president has won Michigan and Wisconsin. Both were won by President Trump in 2016. President Trump is still leading in the third crucial battleground state of Pennsylvania, but his lead is shrinking. Trump's lead in Georgia is declining as more mail-in votes are counted. The Trump campaign revealed this afternoon that it was going to the U.S. Supreme Court to intervene in the counting of ballots in Pennsylvania. It's also threatening to request a recount in Wisconsin. Marjorie Gordon reports.
Former Vice President Biden a short while ago spoke to the American people. He declared that all ballots should be counted.
Over 150 million people cast their votes. I think that's just extraordinary. If we had any doubts, we shouldn't have any longer about a government of, by, and for the people. It's very much alive in America. Here, the people rule. Power can't be taken or asserted. It flows from the people. And it's their will that determines who will be the President of the United States, and their will alone.
Meanwhile, the Trump campaign says it's heading to the Supreme Court, asking it to intervene in a pending case challenging the Pennsylvania Supreme Court decision that allowed ballots to be counted after Election Day. The justices refused to expedite the appeal before the election, but they are still considering whether to take up the case. The CNN's Pamela Brown has more.
The Trump campaign went to the U.S. Supreme Court asking to intervene in an ongoing petition that is before the court having to do with the receipt ballot deadline there in Pennsylvania. That has been under dispute. Republicans went to the high court before and asked for emergency review about the 3-day extension to the deadline for these ballots. They said that the deadline should be on election day, not after election day. The high court essentially said, look, we're not going to take this up right now, but left the door open for them to come back to them, which is essentially what is happening. So essentially, the Trump campaign is coming back. And in this filing, here's what they said. The time has come, given last night's results, the vote in Pennsylvania may well determine the next president of the United States. And this court, not the Pennsylvania Supreme Court, should have the final say on the relevant and dispositive legal questions.
Marjorie Gordon for Nationwide News.
And in local politics now, both candidates in the People's National Party PNP presidential race, Mark Golding and Lisa Hanna, have signed a declaration of unity. The document was put together by persons who PNP General Secretary Julian Robinson described as party elders.
We, comrades Mark Golding and Lisa Hanna, nominees for the position of party president, declare our commitment and hereby pledge, 1, to conduct ourselves and insist that our teams, devoid of rancor and abuse, act in accordance with the party's code of conduct in order to create that environment which is conducive to harmony and true comradeship at every level of the party. 2, to accept that unity of purpose is an imperative which, regardless of the outcome in the leadership race, will require the full engagement of us both, and to that end we commit ourselves to give of our time and skills in whatever office or position which the rebuilding of the party may require.
PNP General Secretary Julian Robinson. With just over 3,350 delegates eligible to participate, polls will open at 12 locations across the island this Saturday. Voting is scheduled to begin at 10 Saturday morning and close at 3 in the afternoon. Robinson says the results are expected by 5 p.m.
Just over 3,350 delegates are eligible to vote in the People's National Party's presidential election to be held on Saturday, November 7th. The voting will start at 10 a.m. and will close at 3 p.m. at 12 locations across the country and will be managed by the Electoral Office of Jamaica. There is a difference in this election versus previous elections, which has been brought about by COVID. We anticipate that the results will be available by 5 p.m. and will be announced here at party headquarters.
Julian Robinson, PNP General Secretary, he was speaking at a media briefing today.
Education Minister Favour Williams says regional heads and ministry officials yesterday met with principals and board chairs of 17 schools approved to participate in the ministry's face-to-face pilot program. The program is to begin next Monday.
What we did at Central Ministry was to call together all the 17 principals and board of management, the chairmen, women of the board, to officially, talk with them from the ministry's perspective to also help them to understand why their school was chosen as part of this pilot, but also to get from them their comfort level.
The schools are Yallah's High School, Steertown Primary and Junior High, Summerton All-Age and Infant School, Newcomb Valley Primary, Morgan's Forest Primary and Infant, Mile Gully Primary, Kemps Hill High School, and Gargologi Primary and Junior High. The others are Chatsworth Primary and Infant School, Chantilly Primary, Bethlehem All-Age and Infant, and Ballards Valley Primary School. Austin High School, Moortown Primary and Junior High, Chalky Hill All-Age, Manique Primary and Junior High, and Devon Primary round out the 17 schools. The minister says 3 of the schools on the initial list leaked on social media have opted out of the program.
We've indicated that 3 of those schools would have said that they needed some more time to be ready, and so they declined participating in this initial pilot, and then we use the same methodology to select 3 replacement schools for those who have declined the participation, and it's for that reason why we did not name the schools at the time, because we wanted to ensure that there's a comfort level with the principals, teachers on the ground to be part of this, because it's going to require a lot of effort on all our part.
The 3 schools that opted out are Troy High, Albertown High, and Tranquility Primary and Infant. Meanwhile, Minister Williams says, given concerns by some parents and stakeholders about the readiness for face-to-face classes, flexibility is being encouraged.
Online approach is still available. The audio-video approach is still available. The learning kit is still available. We've just added this component of the face-to-face to the options that are available to you. So, for example, again, as I described, like the blended approach where students show up on one day and not the next, it's the same. It's the same. If the child can only be at home, getting the online, then we are going to have to try to accommodate that child. The child could have underlying conditions, or the teacher could have underlying conditions. We're not in normal time.
Favour Williams, Education Minister, speaking this afternoon with Nationwide News. There has been 1 death from COVID-19 over the last 24 hours, with the country's death toll now at 215. That's according to the Ministry of Health and Wellness's latest COVID-19 clinical management summary. The ministry has also confirmed 30 new cases in the latest test results. 565 samples were tested in the last 24 hours. This means that there was a positivity rate of 5% in the last 24 hours. The international benchmark for positivity rate is 5% or less. The total number of cases is now 9,326. According to the ministry's latest advisory for November 3, majority of the cases are from St. James. 11 cases were recorded in St. James. This is followed by Kingston and St. Andrew with 4 cases. Portland, St. Catharines, St. Mary and Trelawney recorded 3 cases. Manchester, St. Anne, and Port Westmoreland recorded 1 case each, while Clarendon, Hanover, St. Elizabeth, and St. Thomas recorded no cases. The ministry says 38 more people have recovered, bringing recoveries to 4,704. There are 4,288 active cases. In the meantime, 80 people are being hospitalized, 11 are moderately ill, and 6 are critical.
99 or 48% of the island's nursing homes are compliant with the COVID-19 protocols. All the nation's nursing homes were again inspected following an outbreak of coronavirus in recent weeks in 3 social institutions. Health and Wellness Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton made the disclosure during a statement to the House of Representatives yesterday at the Jamaica Conference Center.
Some 236 such facilities have been inspected, including 203 nursing homes, 13 infirmaries, 14 children homes, and 6 rehabilitation institutions. Of that number, 99 nursing homes, or 48.8%, were found to be compliant with the COVID-19 protocols. The same obtained for 7 of the infirmaries, 4 children homes, and 2 of the rehabilitation institutions.
Dr. Tufton says 2 privately run nursing homes in Manchester and Clarendon had been ordered closed for breaches under the nuanced regulations. Dr. Tufton also says of 43 prisons inspected by the public health team, only 12 have been compliant with the COVID-19 protocols.
In the case of prisons and lockups, 43 of the 106 in the country have been inspected so far, with 12 meeting the COVID-19 standard, Madam Speaker, while the other 31 have been given a timeline within which to become compliant.
Dr. Christopher Tufton, Health and Wellness Minister, speaking yesterday in the House of Representatives. Meanwhile, Dr. Tufton says 43 of the 87 positive cases at the Golden Age home in Vineyard Town, Kingston, have recovered from COVID-19. Of the 620 residents and staff members tested over a 3-day period, 87 results had returned positive for COVID-19, while 533 were negative. He further noted that all residents and staff at the facility continue to be monitored closely, and the compound is managed with enhanced infection prevention and control procedures.
A special joint select committee has been appointed to examine and report on the naming of the Portmore municipality as Jamaica's 15th parish. Local Government and Rural Development Minister Desmond McKenzie made the announcement in Parliament during yesterday's sitting of the House of Representatives.
And whereas the economic, social and cultural benefits and potential for generating revenue with Portmore becoming a parish, be it resolved that this Honourable House of Representatives appoint a special select committee to be chaired by the member from St. Catherine South Central to sit jointly with a similar committee to be appointed by the Senate and to consider and report on the proposal to make Portmore City Municipality the 15th parish of Jamaica. And be it further resolved that this motion be referred to the Senate and be...
Desmond McKenzie, Local Government and Rural Development Minister, addressing the lower house of Parliament yesterday.